Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone to the City of Little Rock Board of Directors agenda setting meeting for the July 15th meeting. Is it the 15th? Yes, July 15th meeting. Board members, are there any questions? And we also will have I know we referenced last week the IT contract. That'll be before us in grouped items for next week, since we're not having a special call this week. Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor Scott. I just have a question on Resolution 1, if somebody could come up and tell us about it. Thank you.
Good evening. So on number one, this is a contract for HNTB, an engineering consulting firm, to provide engineering services for the design and replacement of the pier protection cell for the Clinton Island Presidential Park Bridge. Back on September 10th, 2021, a barge hit that cell, causing substantial damage. Since then, the city Public Works Department engaged a consulting firm to do a preliminary report. That was back in 2021. Following that, fast forward to now, after the I-30 crossing's been completed, now we have selected another firm. It's a combination of HNTB, which is the design firm, and Massman Construction, who was involved in the I-30 crossing. They've been selected to replace that cell. So this resolution is specifically for HNTB's contract.
Director Webb, there's also litigation in this matter. The city's filed suit against the owner of the barge company that it happened. There was another protective area that had been damaged upriver, and that one got worked out with the State Highway Department. This one is ours. There are some questions about how much damage is our responsibility and their responsibility, and so that's where the disagreement is. In the meantime, we're the ones that have the permit, and the Corps of Engineers let us know that it was a $35,000 a day fine if we didn't replace the matter. So we're really not in a position to wait until the litigation's over to get it replaced. In the meantime, we've gotten some indication, and Manish will know more about what I'm about to say than me, that we need to go deeper into the bed of the river with the protective area so that it is less likely to be damaged in the future.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And that is very helpful because I was wondering, like, are we paying for this? Who's paying for it? I didn't know. Wasn't aware up to speed on the litigation.
Correct. We're paying up front, and it's something that needs to be worked out through the litigation process.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Dr. Miller, did you have your?
No, not about this.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Adcock, if you're present.
So in relation to that item, good question. So we've been discussing it with the finance department, and I think Scott is here. Okay. So Scott, correct me if I'm wrong. We're looking at, financing, short-term financing for the construction of that pier protection cell instead of dipping into any emergency funds that the city has. So it's basically to have some kind of funding available and ready to go to construct that cell. And in the litigation process, that money also will be reimbursed to the city. I'm sorry? No, we're trying to get short-term financing for it instead of touching any of the city's reserves.
Amount that we said no to Madison Heights, and now we're saying yes to a bridge.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Director Phillips.
Thank you, and I think this may be related, I mean, it is related to that topic, but more for the city attorney. So the litigation that we're currently in, we're alleging damages, which would include damages that are incurred if we approve the short-term financing.
It would, and they're gonna contest that too, but the situation is we've got an action in Admiralty, so we'll get this tried in federal court. We think that the short-term financing is gonna make it much clearer as to what the degree of our damages are. I wanna let the board know, this $6 million is what we think. It's conceivable that it would go higher. We would be looking to the owner of the barge company to repay all of it to us.
And that's what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
The goal would to be recoup all this money
Right.
through litigation, but obviously you can't make any promises about what type of damages we will recover, if any.
I
Correct.
can tell you that if we don't win your case, you won't owe us a dime, but that's a whole different issue.
I think you may have just infringed upon a trademark by doing that. But I understand. Thank you, City Attorney. That's all I had, Mayor.
Director Miller?
It's not related to that, Mayor. It's resolution number 3 I had a question about.
It's your turn.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. On resolution number 3, specifically as it relates to HOPA funds, Director Howard, you know, we've had some interest from some community members about how this whole process works. Have you had any type of communication with those folks as it relates to this item, and where are we on that?
Yes, so we did have dialogue back and forth that we spoke to the gentleman that was requesting information, so we provided all that to them. We have public meetings prior to us submitting everything to you all. We required to just have 2 public meetings by the federal government, but in our case, we have 5. We have 1 kickoff meeting, and we have 4 meetings. We have usually at each of the community centers and Willie Hinton Neighborhood Resource Center. That happened prior to us submitting the information to you all, but we did give him the information where he could find the information on our website.
So is now that individual and that individual's organization, they're on our
Yes.
email list?
Yes.
Okay, so is that person happy, Director Howard?
Yes, he didn't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you. Resolution number 7.
All right.
I have a question about resolution number 7 and these 80 parking spaces. How does that work when we have a parking deck that we are on? Do we just, people come up or a company can say, I want to lease some spaces? What's that whole process? Because again, some of those, when we have a convention in town, it really gets, those decks get packed. And so how does that work when someone says they want to lease this?
My memory escapes me, and we can definitely, but I'm pretty certain this is something that's done every so often, like based on that particular contract. This is not the first time it's been like a 30-year deal. That's kind of what I'm sharing. Not 30-year, 5-year deal. I think it's done every 5 years. But I'll get you some more information.
Okay, I was just
There's
curious.
certain lots that we have authority over,
Uh-huh,
and that's one of them.
okay.
But I'll get you some more information on that.
And it's 80 spaces?
Mhm.
It seems a lot for that company, but maybe I don't understand all that, but
I'll
anyway.
get you those details.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And-
I think that's all.
And then on,
Oh, sorry.
on ordinance number 12, you know, Mayor and my fellow board members, I get more calls about codes and building codes and things. So when we do something like this, is the construction community, are these developers, do we have conversations with them, or do they just get mad when we adopt this stuff and they don't know anything about it? So just enlighten me a little bit on that, Brad.
Sure, yes, sir, Director Miller, thanks for the question. This is actually just updating 2 clerical references, so it's a very small change. Section 8(2)(a), 2 and 3, they should say building and residential respectively. If you see here, we passed one, which says fire code. The second one says building code, and the third will say residential code. If you look at what is written now, it's just fire code repeated. So building needs to go into 2, and residential needs to go into 3. So it's
Okay, that's some cleanup stuff.
just some cleanup stuff. Yes, sir.
Not gonna make anybody mad with
No, sir. It's going to actually help everything and help us be able to do our job better.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Director Hines?
Mayor, I apologize. It hit some rain coming downtown, so I was running a little bit late. I kind of need to replow some ground and get back up to date on the Junction Bridge issue. So, Tom, are we already involved in litigation and?
Yes.
Okay, so we are. So this is so we've ongoing litigation that's been going on since the 2013 collision with the bridge. Okay. or 20
And we've gotten direction from the Corps to take action on the cell, so we can't really wait until the litigation's over.
Okay. So when we, back in February, so when did and I guess from a standpoint from Public Works, so the collision with the barge was 2013, correct?
2021, September 10th.
So this has nothing, this is a separate from the 2013?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, all right,
Correct.
and maybe that's where there was some confusion. I know
Correct.
we had one collision, I didn't realize there was a second one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then that's when this cell tilted.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the Clinton Island Presidential Park Bridge. The protection cell for that bridge was hit by a barge on September 10th of 2021. And that's what this item number 1 on the resolution, and then number 10, the ordinance, both of those are related to that, sir.
Right, no, I understand that. So we executed a contract with the, I guess this
HNT.
engineering firm, HMTB, back in, I went back and found my file. It came out on the professional services under 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just for the initial work?
Correct.
Okay,
Because that helped us lay the foundation to determine what are the options, what are the cost estimates, helping us work with our city attorney's office to keep all our paperwork ready when we get into the litigation process.
okay. And so that segued into an $800,000 contract for HNTB, right?
That's
Do the
correct.
Design work?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that's about 12% of the project cost?
Yes, sir.
Is that normal for?
It is not normal. This is, under these circumstances, it's a very different kind of an issue we're dealing with. And from the beginning, we've engaged with the city attorney's office and procurement to ensure that we're doing everything according to our procurement rules.
Okay. Just trying to make sure I cover my bases. So Tom, we'll be able to, in this litigation, go after our interest charges, all that stuff. That's why I think that's what.
We will
Director
claim
Phillips-
them as damages,
Okay,
yes.
all right, all right. I just want to make sure we've got it out, and I'm particularly suspect of contracts that run right up to the edge. And this is why, because they segue into an $800,000 contract. That's why it kind of got on my radar, because somebody brought it to my attention that we didn't approve it, and then all of a sudden we've got a $6.5 million request, so,
I understand.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And so this is just to replace one cell?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Correct.
Because I find that odd that it's, the estimate's $6.5 million when we only spent $12 million building the thing. We spent about $12 million doing the pedestrian bridge on it and reclaiming it and
Oh.
all that kind of stuff back when.
That is possibly because of the kind of work that needs to be done in the river. It has to be, put into the riverbed and constructed that way. So because of the means and methods of construction, it is likely that that's costlier.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Director Adcock, then Director Phillips.
Yes, item 9 and item 11 On item 9, has there been any changes since we have looked at this before?
Director Miller? We'll let Director Miller answer that one, Brad.
Thank you, Director Adcock, for that. And yes, there has been some update on that. I can certainly share it with you. I've met with the neighborhood, and I also met with with Mr. Orndorff. And I had Mr. Orndorff come over to the neighborhood. We sat on one of the neighbors' porches who owns the house right next to the lot that he's wanting to do this development on. She owns 2 other houses in the 1500 block of Hanger Street. Right across the street from her is her grandson. Right on the corner is her daughter. And we spent about an hour talking to her. Mr. Orndorff is going to help her try to secure the lot right next to her house that she mows every year. She's been there since 1990, where her grandchildren play. And so we've already contacted the owner of that lot, former Arkansas Razorback football player and NFL player, doesn't live in state. And so we're trying to help her get that. She's very happy with that. And now she is, I don't know if she's totally convinced that 4 houses will work on that lot, but she's not going to fight it. Mr. Orndorff is going to work with her and clean up that lot. He's going to put sidewalks on that street where he's going to do the development. So I believe at this point in time, she's pretty comfortable with that. And
How about the neighbors besides the one woman?
well, the other folks really don't care. Mr. Orndorff went up the 1500 block of Hanger, 1600 block of Hanger. He's given out flyers that talked about the development, had a sketch of the development. There's been no feedback from any of the neighbors about that, any objection to it. I've been back over to her house. We have visited, and so she has a vision about what's going on. I don't believe she's gonna, at this point, she doesn't seem to really want to fight that, particularly if Mr. Orndorff helps her secure the lot right next to her that she's been cutting for years and where her grandkids play. And he told her he would clean that lot up at his own expense, and she seemed to be very happy with that. So there has been a lot of neighborhood engagement. I'm proud of Mr. Orndorff for doing that. And so at this point, it looks like we're going to move forward. I would still like to be 3 houses, but he wants to do 4. I'm not going to raise any stink about it, I guess, like that. I'll put it that way.
Mr. Jordan, how about staff?
If Director Miller has had, I have not had the conversations Director Miller has had. I did not know Mr. Orndorff had engaged the community like that, so that's news to me. But it's, from staff standpoint, Planning Commission recommended, they denied the application unanimously. Staff recommended denial because it showed no off-street parking, and we still are recommending denial of it.
Okay, thank you.
And I would also add that parking's going to be tight, and Mr. Orndorff saw that. He wants to move forward with it, and I think he's taking a chance. 4 houses, these 500 square foot houses, but his heart's in the right place. I think it's going to improve the 1500 block of Hanger, but it's yet to be seen about parking. I share your concerns, Director Jordan, but it's something that the neighbors, I don't think, are going to fight. They're concerned about the parking. I drive over there at night. I've driven over there on Sundays. I've visited again with the neighborhood. I've seen the parking over there, particularly when at 16th and Hanger, when people come visit their mother over there. It's it's a lot of cars on that street. We'll see, but
Okay, thank you. Mayor, item number 11, Mr. Carpenter, why would we give up the responsibility of checking these taxi cabs each year?
Director Adcock, one of the things that happened a few years ago is that Uber and Lyft and others came into town, and we worked very hard, and with Uber particularly, to develop a methodology for dealing with rates. We got it done, I think it was like October, November, and then in January, they got the General Assembly to pass an act that said we couldn't touch them. So we put taxi cabs at a disadvantage because Uber could do what it wanted and they couldn't. They came in and have asked us in the past to have some greater freedoms in terms of rates. We still have some control over them. The one good thing we've got about taxi cabs is that they are supposed to answer calls and go to them, and Uber can decide not to go for whatever reason. And Lyft, and I'm using Uber sort of like I would use Xerox. There are several companies out there that I think do ride shares. These usually work together with the fleet department. And I don't know if he's here today, but they're just trying to be able to maintain some competitiveness.
Okay, in the past, what problems have we found with these inspections that we was able to correct because we did have an inspection? I'm afraid we are just walking away, and that leaves our citizens to no control that they have, that we have over the taxi cab companies.
I don't know exactly the problems with inspections. I know that we require insurance. I know that nobody requires anything of the ride shares.
Okay, thank you.
Director Phillips?
Thank you, Mayor. And that's going back to number 1, and I guess number 10 for the city attorney. Could you get us a memo just kind of summarizing where we are in the litigation? And I know you said it's an admiralty issue. So are we already in federal court, or are you saying we're going to get to federal court?
We're already there. We filed it in federal court.
Okay. So can you get us a copy of the scheduling order as well?
Yes.
So we can have a sense of when that may be resolved, at least from a trial standpoint. Obviously, that doesn't take into account appeals and payment and chasing people for payment, but at least that we understand when this is supposed to hit ahead. That was it, Mayor. Thank you.
Director Hines?
Manesh, on the original HNTB Corporation contract, even though it was under 50,000, we had to bid it, so it was an RFQ, RFP, do you know?
It was an RFQ. So basically, we had our on-call services, bid number 2306, and then basically we used that to send out an a letter of interest to all the consultants on that list, and we had a selection committee set up to select this consultant.
Can you send me all the paperwork on that?
Yes, sir, will do.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Vice Mayor Warwick?
I have an item I wanted to speak to the board about that is not on the agenda. I'm not sure if we're ready for that or not.
We are.
Okay. I have 2 documents I'm going to pass out. One of them is our current panhandling ordinance. And the second one is a bill that was approved at the Capitol from 2023 that deals with loitering in our street right-of-way, sidewalks, those kinds of issues. I've been talking to a lot of individuals that are concerned about people in our right-of-ways, their safety, harassment, loitering, those kinds of things. This morning, I was going to a meeting off of University, and there was a gentleman that was on the skinny median there at University and Asher and Colonel Glenn. I know you've seen that kind of activity in the past. And he was all bent over on the right-of-way, and his foot was off of the right-of-way in the street. That's what I saw this morning. I'm always seeing a lot of people at that intersection. I know it's a concern for a lot of our citizens. So the reason I passed out the current panhandling bill that we have is, it's my understanding, Mr. Carpenter, that the one that we do, that we have on file is, violates the First Amendment.
Director Wyrick, there are some concerns that have been raised. The begging is a First Amendment activity.
Right.
And Judge Wilson, dealing with off-ramps on the freeways in the Arkansas State Highway Department, flat ruled that the statute that was in place at the time was unconstitutional. The legislature took out the begging aspect of it. The operative ordinance is 17-131. That's the operative code provision. And it basically tries to get away from being any content. It tries to be content neutral. We don't really care what you're out on the median for. What we don't want is the creation of a safety hazard. There have been some cases that have upheld those types of actions. The Eighth Circuit, at the time that we drafted this ordinance, had struck one ordinance similar to it because it only applied to certain medians instead of all medians. Ours applies to all medians. I can tell you that there's some cases around the country, because I did some more research today on this issue, that think maybe only certain medians are appropriate depending upon traffic counts and such. There has been questions since the state case had come up and the federal court acted that way as to whether or not our police department could exercise this one. I think they can. I know that there have been concerns by the police department, and if you'll notice, there's nothing in here that really prohibits people from doing anything. It prohibits things from being done within the median. It does not prohibit it being done from the side of the road on the sidewalk, and it doesn't prohibit people from walking up to a non-moving car, which was an example we had, because at the time the Democrat Gazette out on Asher, people would stop at one of the stoplights and somebody would walk up and down and sell newspapers to them. I do not know if that still occurs, but it wouldn't prohibit that type of thing because there really isn't any safety hazard. But we get stories all the time. Director Adcock particularly was quite worried because a woman had an infant and she was sitting in the median and doing things. We looked into that one, and I don't know if it's because of direction. I don't know why she did it, but the woman moved to the sidewalk where we have less authority.
Okay, so I guess my question is, you said that the operative one was the 17-131.
Yes, ma'am.
The bill from 2023 that was done by Senator Johnson, does that help us in our efforts to control the right-of-ways where people don't feel like they're harassed? We have public safety in regards to the loitering.
Director Warwick, I think that the bill helps in the sense that what led Judge Wilson to hold certain provisions of state law to be unconstitutional is stricken. The things that are listed are the creation of a traffic hazard, which we had. There's nothing about creating a traffic hazard that is not a public safety matter. The causing alarm and harassing or threatening manner is language that appears in many ordinances and statutes throughout the country. The problem that some people have is, you know, you may have an issue that says, you know, stop the changing of the Weather Bureau, or stop abortion, or stop this or stop that, and some people may think that's harassment or threatening, but that's really just speech. Harassment or threatening manners are things that where they literally come up to people and they can ask them for money, but they can't keep following them and keep begging them after they've said, no, leave me alone. And that's when you get into that. So yes, I do think that the statute helps.
Okay, what I'd like to see is a new ordinance with the items that you just talked about to be brought to the board so we can improve on this 17-131 and maybe help with our loitering and people in the right-of-way.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any more questions from members of the board? Any more questions? Any more questions? Before we go, I want to introduce three of our interns who are here with us today, and they'll just stand as I have Jordan Mays from the University of Arkansas, have Kadiah Jones from Prairie View. Did I say that correctly? Kadiah. I knew you was going to, I apologize. I apologize, Kadiah. And we have Nathan Archie as well from Jackson State University of Mississippi, all from Little Rock and Arkansas area. Two who aren't here are Victoria Bravo as well as Peyton Robinson. So just wanted to recognize them and as our college interns. I apologize. All right, meeting adjourned.